I ask you a question? Why do you think, like, as soon as we do this podcast, I get like
raspy
radio DJ voice? I don't understand, because it's not like how I talk all the time.
Was it Todd Molinari that said...
I think it's because I'm not trying to talk too loud into the microphone.
I don't know. I think it was Todd Molinari that said that he could put your voice on and just fall asleep. And I was like...
Fair enough, man. I don't know why I do it. I don't understand.
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know. So just one boner story. One boner and a raspy voice. That's our...
New podcast name?
No. It's probably our memoir. We've known each other for, what, how many? 14 years now? 15 almost?
Well, you approached me. I was in the cable crossover, the little cable...
Is that where you were?
Stack. Yep.
Yeah.
And you came up and you said, what are you training for, man? And I was like, I don't really know at this exact moment. Just, I don't know. I guess just training to like, I think I said something like, I guess just training to stay lean at this point. And you were like, well, that sucks. And then I think like within the same breath, you were like, you should come check out this hole in the wall we have in Bellefonte. And I think we wound up, you, me, and my girlfriend at the time,
Thai food,
went out for Thai food like that night, and then I think, I want to say this is really random that all this is in my head, but that was on a Friday, and then Saturday morning we went over to the gym in Bellefonte.
I do remember that first time, because it was Saturdays were always like heavy bench days. And I said to you, hey, you ever benched 225 before? And you're like, no. I was like, today you will. Yeah.
And I did.
You sure did.
It's the God's honest truth is that the experiences that I had there in however many
handful of sessions,
like was key in me opening the original location of Beyond Strength. I remember leaving there and coming to Virginia and working where I worked, and that being a shit show, and then winding up being in some big box gyms. And I'm like, I wish we just had like a small place where what I'm about to say, I don't want this anymore, but like where we can just blare music until our ears bleed, until our ears bleed, and just lift god awful heavy. And it's kind of why the first gym existed.
So funny. The best part about that is like that I don't even listen to music when I work out anymore. I never turn it on.
I do. I do sometimes. I mean, but we have a new speaker coming for the gym, by the way.
I didn't know that.
No one knows that except for now. But I got fed up, like in class.
Because it keeps disconnecting.
In class, or like the skipping sound. What day was that? On Wednesday, yesterday. All the days run together now. Yesterday, we were doing the ISOs, which just already suck, and then it kept skipping, and I was like trying to breathe, and I'm like already hate the song that was on. I don't even know what it was, but it was some type of like, I don't know, EDM thing or whatever.
You've already talked me out of it, but go on.
And I think I caught Ronnie off guard because I was like, just shut it off. Just turn the whole thing off. Just yelled it like while trying to breathe. And he like walked over and just hit power. And we did the final. There was only one ISO left. And we just did that final ISO, the whole gym in like complete silence.
The best way to do it.
So, and then Ronnie was like, afterwards, he was like, dude, we have a world-class gym and the shittiest sound system.
He said that to you?
Like, I don't remember what his exact words were, but basically, and I was like, yeah, he was like, we need a Bose, boss. And I was like, well, I don't know if very soon. That's what I said back. I just said very soon. And so I literally...
But you did order something?
Mm-hmm. It'll be here tomorrow.
Thanks for running the financial decisions by me, Chris. You son of a bitch. That's fantastic.
Polk Audio.
Polk.
Polk.
Never heard of it. We do have something coming up.
Go
ahead. No.
Here's the review that got me. I read reviews. I'm a review guy, right? So Amazon review. And someone's review was something along the lines of, it's amazing to see where Polk Audio is today. I remember when I used to just put their subwoofers in my car and blast the bass so hard my bumper fell off.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
I was like, that sounds good. No, but like the reviews on this thing, they were all off the charts good. So anyways, continue.
We're doing the Lex on February 15th next week. So Thursday.
Some people know what they're in for. Others don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know if we'll do a t-shirt for that one. Because I don't know what I would...
I don't know.
I got to think about that.
Yeah. Anyway, I know members listen to this, so we're doing the Lex. And then if you're not a member and you want to know what the Lex is, you can hit us up and you can do it on your own that day if you want. We've had a lot of people do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously all the people that served with him and stuff, but even people that have no idea who Lex was or anything just have done it on their
Once
own
we
when they saw
posted
us do it. Yeah, so it's a nice little 5-minute test of your fortitude and how well you can deal with your muscles burning.
It's not as bad as the 1 mile echo bike. I don't know. I'm still perplexed as to how that went so wrong. But
I talked to Greg about it yesterday.
That we actually tied?
Well, no.
Did you tell him?
I didn't say that. Well, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? We have video evidence that we tied. Don't you pull that on me.
But the thing is if there was a fraction of a second,
then he still won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
plus he won because he could comfortably walk and talk afterwards.
Well, he could, but then he was telling me that they went out for dinner afterwards, and he had to do a check-in with himself and make sure he's like, okay, is everything all right? Like, am I okay?
What?
Yeah. So, yeah. But he looked cool as a cucumber while he was doing it when he finished.
What was the check-in? Like,
I don't remember exactly, but he was like...
But did he say what he was feeling? What made him...
No, I don't remember specifically what he said, but yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel better knowing that he's human.
He doesn't seem it sometimes. This is the first challenge I didn't do. I didn't do this one.
Where did he hit me up? He hit me up on... I'm going to pull this up. His company is doing a challenge. Did he tell you about this?
No.
He's like, my company's doing a challenge, and of course I want to win it. And I'm looking at him like, dude, this is like perfect for you to win. But whose company does this? No, that's not where I want. Yeah, that is where I want to be. Here we go. Here's the challenges. My work is having a challenge. Obviously, I'm interested. Okay, he said interested. And he said, what the heck is a Dynabody standing chest press? Which I didn't know what it was. I just Googled it. It's like a standing bench press.
Hammer strength.
It's like a standing bench press machine. You're standing with your backs against a board, and there's like handles at varying heights, and you're just benching. So I'm like, all right. But it's like the cardio tests are reverse shuffle and 100-yard dash, fastest time wins. Versa climber, 3-minute, longest distance wins. Ooh. Concept 2 rower, 3-minute, longest distance wins.
Wait, Versa climber for 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that would be awful.
Yeah. Then he said 30-yard frogger, fastest time, which I'm guessing is like a frog hop type.
That would be my guess.
Ski erg, 60-second longest distance. So like, I'm guessing it's like cumulative, like you're not beating him on, who is he competing with? Like you're not beating him on
most of those.
Most, if not all of these. And then strength, tank, fastest time to push and pull across 15 yards. I don't know how much that weighs, but hip mill farmer's carry, 40% of body weight for women, 60% of body weight for men, longest distance traveled. 60% of body weight, he's going to go forever.
He could go forever.
Leg press, 100% of body weight for women, 150% of body weight for men, number of reps at target weight. So I guess it's most reps. Dynabody standing chest press, 50% of body weight for women, 100% for men, number of reps completed. Lat pull down, 40% of body weight for women, 75% of body weight for men, number of reps at target weight. He's going to win.
I think so.
I don't even know who he's competing with, but like, you don't want to compete with Garver. You just don't.
He's pretty good at competing. He's also very fit and strong. So he's both of those things. He's all of those things. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to jump into our actual topic?
Yeah, sure. So last week we did a podcast about different training zones and time in them and stuff like that. And so I thought about that, and I was like, well, maybe we should. One of the things that's tough to tell is how you make, whether or not you're making progress fitness-wise, aerobically. Like, so strength is often easy because like you can either do more weight or the weight feels easier, or you can do more reps. Like they're much easier gauges, or like, you lost a pound this week that's a tougher one. Let's see, like you're trending down. Maybe it's not, but like you're trending
weekly
down,
average weight.
Yeah. Your weekly average weight trended down or it didn't,
Yeah.
So,
but just to clarify on that, because someone's like, wait, what do you mean? It's like, I think I get what you were saying. Like 1 pound weight loss in one day, your body weight will fluctuate 3, 5, 7 pounds. But if you weigh yourself every single day, add up all 7 days at the end of the week, divide by 7, that's your weekly average. If you compare weeks that way, it's actually a better idea of whether you're making progress towards your weight loss goals.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. But aerobic fitness is not as like front and center, not as palpable sometimes. And it's one of those things that like, well, compliance and adherence is tough. You know what I mean? And so like, I think one of the reasons that it is one of the reasons that we talked about last week is people get bored. And another reason is like, it's tough. It's tougher to see the direct progress as it is with things like deadlifting or anything like that. And so my idea was, well, we should give people some markers so that they can see in different ways that you can like almost like cross hatch all of these so that you can see your progress, can see and measure your progress, you know? And so that was the goal. I wrote a blog article about that this week. And so we'll kind of discuss the things from the blog article. Is there anything else that you want to add before we go in?
No.
Okay.
I was just pulling it up so I'd have it.
So, I mean, the first one that I wrote about was decrease in resting heart rate. And it's I think one of the easiest ones to see. It's going to take some time, you know, but I also thought about this as like, it's not as easy to track if you don't have a wearable, which wearables make it way easier. Cause like, obviously I wear an Oura ring to sleep and so I can see the trends and the change but if not, you kind of have to go off of your pulse rate when you first wake up in the morning. And so, but a decrease in that, typically denotes an increase in your aerobic fitness because, the system's more efficient. So there's less pressure in the system because at each end it's working a little bit better because you have more capillary density. So there's more area for the blood to flow through. And then also, you improve your stroke rate, which is how much blood you pump out with each heartbeat. And so there's like a back and forth mechanism between that and your autonomic nervous system to you shift parasympathetic. So like more like toggle more parasympathetic more easily. And so that kind of chills you out and tones you down. So your heart rate slows down. I'm trying to think of what else I might want to say about that. I think that's really it.
Yeah, I think if you are using some type of a fitness tracker where you're wearing it to sleep, there's a lot of things that you can do that you might be like masking being able to see your resting heart rate lowering. Like if you're eating large meals before bed, if you're drinking, if you're doing different things that like it might actually be, but you're not allowing it to actually like come through. And I know you had in there about like goals for resting heart rate, but also like, I think we could talk about, I guess it'd be like expectations of what you would see. And I don't know like what you've seen. But I'm at least now aware of if I'm not doing a crazy amount of like high zone 1, zone 2 work, like versus I am doing a crazy amount. Like when I was deep into my preps for the ultras, it'd be like overnight. It wouldn't be uncommon for me to hit low and mid 40s for my lowest resting heart rate. And even my averages,
you were doing
when I was doing a ton, and even my averages would be there. When I'm not, and like when I kicked up jiu-jitsu and I was doing way more high intensity work, which is current, but I've kind of come out of this. Like at first I saw like, 52, 50, like still not like crazy high, but from like say 43, 44, 45, all of a sudden 52 lowest, and averages sometimes up near 60, but it seemed like that's chilled out and now it's gone back to, but still like upper 40s because I'm not doing as much zone 2 work right now. So.
Yeah, low to moderate intensity aerobic activity helps modulate parasympathetic activity. And so that's why you would see your shift down. But I think volume for some people matters too. Whereas like if you've done an increase in volume and you're not adapted to the stress yet, you might also see it rise. And I think there's also seasonality to resting heart rate. So like there are certain times later in the spring, my heart rate, I don't know what happens like every year. My resting heart rate will be in the mid to high 40s, but like now it's in the low 50s most of the time, unless I'm sick or something's up. So it's like 51, 52, but like then it'll shift lower and then kind of be low through the summer and then start to come back up. I don't know exactly why, but you'll want to see is trends down. And you just have to measure it over time. And if you don't have a wearable, you'll just have to like take your pulse rate first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, before you really get up and start moving around. And you kind of want to give yourself a couple minutes to lay back down before you actually take your pulse rate and see what it is. And then just kind of track. And then as you see it trend down, there's the confounds would be like you have less stressors in your life, which, it will also affect your aerobic fitness because you just have access to more resources and you're not as sympathetically dominant as you would be. So your cardiovascular system will just work better. So by de facto, without training, you've actually improved your cardiovascular fitness. But yeah. And then like you said, eating late at night can affect it. Caffeine consumption later in the day, like how well you sleep, how stressed out you are, all of those things can affect it. But like if you start to see trends down, whatever you're doing is a good thing. And so, but increasing your volume of aerobic work, especially low to moderate intensity aerobic work, will start to lower your heart rate. And you want to see like typically in a well-developed aerobic system, you want to be under 60, so 60 beats per minute is good. You'll see people get down to low as the 30s, but like the amount of work that takes is just obnoxious. And there's also a genetic factor to that and everything. Like sociopaths, sociopaths have really low resting heart rates.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like in the 30s. Yeah. Now you know that. Okay. Moving on. Heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is not as straightforward.
But neither is resting heart rate.
It's not. But I think this is less straightforward than resting heart rate, though.
I was going to say, but then I was like, no, I don't want to go on like a tangent. But I think it's worth saying because it's true for both of these of like, I loosely watch these. Very loose. Because I just know, like where I was talking about things that can mask it, is like there's so much that I can do, both that I can control and that I can't control, that will affect my resting heart rate.
There's different things.
And my HRV.
But you have a trend. You have trends over time.
Yes.
And you're also really fit. And so I think for you, the variation is going to be much smaller. And you're not going to necessarily see these increases or see improvement necessarily in these things. But whereas someone that isn't as fit as you, and let's say that their resting heart rate is 68 most of the time, and they start to see a trend down, then like, yeah, it matters. But for you, that's not going to be your measure. Like you're going to look at different shit.
I'm not saying don't pay attention to it by any means.
I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying for you, like, yes, for someone at your stage, it's not as straightforward.
Yeah.
But I think for somebody else that's at a different end of the spectrum, like you can pay attention to your heart rate and realize that you're making gains.
Yeah. Okay.
So HRV is different though. So the same thing, like low to moderate intensity aerobic training is going to help modulate your HRV because it helps modulate your parasympathetic versus sympathetic tone, your autonomic nervous system. But like sometimes your HRV will go down, but it doesn't mean that you're not getting fitter, especially if you have like crazy swings in volume or like you're in a very high intensity training phase. So like a lot of times, like if you're a low intensity training phase where you're doing a bunch of aerobic work, and not as much high intensity work, lower, you'll see your HRV typically come up some if you hold everything else constant. But a lot of times in higher intensity phases, your HRV will drop, at least temporarily. And it doesn't mean that you're not getting fitter. And it doesn't mean that the training's not working. But what you can look at over a long period, I think you just have to stretch the time frame out for HRV farther, where it's like if you look at like, your HRV from year to year or month to month and you start to see it trend upward, then that's a good thing, right? But it's not as straightforward. But it's something that's worth watching.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to say about it.
if I were to say something there, I don't. It would be another thing that I don't think would apply because we've talked about it on previous episodes. Is
What?
When I jumped into all the volume that I did getting ready for Georgia Death Race, it went down significantly, and it's never come back up to where it is. But I am in far, far better aerobic condition
For sure.
than I've ever been, and so. I don't know. I've spoken to different people about that, and like, I don't know that I really have. And it's not like it's just that I was always. I mean, if I were to pull up my Oura Ring and look at my trends, it's pretty wild. So we look at HRV, and if we go by year, so it's like 2022. So we look at like it was pretty 2019. My annual average was 69. 2020, 69. 2021, 72. 2022, 69, which I started on like the back half of 2022 was all the prep for the Georgia Death Race. 2023, 59. 2024, 56 so far, which obviously it's early yet. So, I don't know. But like everything else has trended in the right direction. And that'll be, I don't want to spoil it, things that we're about to get into. So I'm interested to see, it's like what we talked about previously, if I were to say like any hunch of what I think is going on there. And between conversations I've had with you about this, with Dr. Crane about this, when we talked with Scott about it a little bit, even though you're like, well, man, that was like August of 2022 that I started doing all of that. I had like how many years of like just some aerobic conditioning to like jumping into all of that. And I don't know that I really ever gave myself enough time to recover from it all.
Right.
And so I think right now, even though it's saying for this year's being down to 56, I've been sick twice this year. Yeah. So I think that's a bit skewed. I'm seeing higher coming back up, but I've reduced my volume. And so, again, I think it's a different conversation, my situation, compared to what most people are going to experience, because I don't think most people are going to jump into maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours of aerobic conditioning to 9 hours of aerobic conditioning a week. So...
Sure. I mean, yes, that huge swing is going to be different. Mine's down so far this year too. So,
and you've been sick multiple times. It's been a weird year.
Yeah.
Start to a year, anyways.
Yeah. But the thing is, and it's also like looking at also different in people, right? So it's like if you're starting at the end of the spectrum where you haven't done the volume over time that you've done, not starting with as high as level of fitness, and then not putting hours and hours and hours on running on top of it, you should likely see a trend up in your HRV as you improve aerobically.
Yes.
So that's for most people, it will apply. Again, like you have to stretch it out over time because, like, for example, if, like next training block, like Tuesdays will be endurance, but Thursdays will be vigor. So like you'll do a strength session on Monday. So it wouldn't be surprising that, and I'm not saying it necessarily would happen this way, but it wouldn't be surprising that if you do an intense strength training session on Monday, you wake up on Tuesday and your HRV is down. That wouldn't be surprising at all. Then you do a low to moderate intensity session on Tuesday, and then
aerobic
session on Tuesday, sorry. And then it wouldn't be surprising to see your HRV come back up later on in that day and then stay and then be up the next morning. And then you have two relatively intense days. So it wouldn't be surprising to see like your HRV trend down through the rest of the week and then come up again on the weekend. Yep. So like that would be a totally normal thing. So you have to stretch it out and look at it over a longer period of time. But again, even like probably changes in resting heart rate are going to take at least 8 to 12 weeks of consistent aerobic work at like 2 to 4 hours per week, something like that, to at least start to see that change.
Maybe faster.
Yeah, it depends on how out of shape you are, I think.
Yeah.
But probably maybe 4.
Yeah, I think like, faster, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other stuff.
The ones I use.
This is the one that I think honestly has the most applicability, and that's heart rate recovery time, because I think you actually will see it. And that's one of the reasons I didn't write it in the article, but that's one of the reasons that we do the bike test, and then we have people repeat the bike test on their first testing week, at least on their first testing week, because that it tells you a lot. Well, there's two things from the bike test that kind of, we can talk about both of them at the same time. So we have increased work rate at the same or lower heart rate, and we have faster heart rate recovery times. And so I also set up a test for human predator pack mule with a 12-minute step-up test, where it's like, can you go farther in those 12 minutes and then do more steps, and then also keep your heart rate down lower and then recover faster? Like, we know that we've improved aerobically. So heart rate recovery time essentially says that your aerobic system has developed to the point where it's able to toggle sympathetic and parasympathetic activity, and that's because you're well, from the plumbing standpoint, it's the things that we talked about, like you're able to pump out more blood with each beat and everything like that, but also it's easier for you to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic. I mean, yes, that's what I meant to say.
Yep.
So that's essentially what's happening there. But it's easy to measure, and you can see it in, like, I like this one because you can see it in any type of workout. You know, like, so for example, if we're doing, you know, an interval workout here, you'll see it. Like if you're doing a eustress workout here, you'll see that your heart rate will come down faster. Even if we're doing some variations of one of our endurance workouts, like, you'll still see after work, your heart rate will come back down faster. So I really like this one a lot. Go ahead.
Me too. No, this is just this and increased work rate at the same or lower heart rate are the two that, it's not that I don't pay attention. I very much pay attention to heart rate and heart rate variability. But these are the two that I think, because you see these relatively quickly, you see them change relatively quickly, that I pay attention to all of the time. So, and especially like the image that I used in the blog was just a random screenshot of my watch showing average heart rate over one of my runs. I don't know which one this was, but it shows average 144. And like, one of the ways that I like to use increased work rate at the same or lower heart rate is just, I would have a lot of repeat days that are just like staples in my program. Like, for instance, a 1 hour endurance run. Like, I would do that on most Wednesdays in my training, just an easy run for 1 hour. And I would look at pacing. Like, I would go like, okay, I went for an hour today, covered 7 miles, average heart rate one, and I'm making this up, but like, it's probably around this, like average heart rate 144, and then, you know, do the same workout and maybe same distance, but weeks later, average heart rate 138, and you're like, all right, like, and you see it kind of trending in that direction. It's just really, really easy to see. Obviously, as long as you're wearing some type of a good heart rate monitor and GPS watch. So yeah. I think that's you can see it, and you can see it fast. You know what I mean? So I think that's a really good one to track, is like, because I don't think people necessarily pay attention to that, and that one's just simple. You just pay attention. If you pay attention a little bit closer, you'll see like, oh, I went farther, or oh, I did more, and I recovered faster. Well, especially the handle greater workloads at a lower heart rate. So, yeah, I was trying to read and talk at the same time, and I got a little discombobulated. You go ahead. You talk about something. I mean, the next one, you're able to handle greater workloads in general.
Yeah.
Another easy one to see. Like, if you're going to experience this, like, you've hit me up after, I forget what your distance was the other day, where you were like, that's the
7 miles.
Yeah, the longest run I've done, I think you said, since like
I was 18.
Since you were 18.
Yeah.
So you'll have that in your head, right? How it went, how you felt, but soon you're going to do 8 miles, and you're going to do 9 miles, and you're going to do 13.1. And I would imagine, with relative certainty, that after this, like, you're not done. You're going to keep running, and you'll have some other long runs in there. And you have that data, and you'll be able to reflect both on like a rating of perceived exertion of how that session felt, but you'll also be able to look at different things depending on what you used, like obviously your average heart rate over that session, your respiratory rate over that session. If you're using something like a Garmin, you get all kinds of stuff. Like you can look at even your HRV. They do some type of an algorithm that will show like your readiness throughout the session and stuff, and you can watch all of these things change in a positive trend line over time. So
yeah, I think it's a good one for most folks because I mean, if you come here, you'll repeat different workouts, throughout the course of a year or years. But also, like, if you go out and hike or do whatever, and you're like, man, I feel myself, that didn't take as much out of me during the hike, but then also like, the last time I did this, I was super sore and blah, 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 and I felt like I couldn't do things for days. And so I felt better. So one caveat to that is accumulating fatigue. So, for example, there's if there's this one company that has people do these like crazy brutal workouts like 3 days per week, and people make it like I don't know, a couple weeks into it, and then they say they have to take 3 to 4 days off. And so if you accrue fatigue and then you go out and fatigue. So let's say you accrue fatigue and you go out and you do the same hike or whatever it might be, and you're just not recovered going into that. Like, and then on the back end of that, you feel like it's even longer for you to come around. It could be that you're still in a fatigued state when you did that. It's not necessarily that you're not able to handle greater workloads. It's just that your readiness is so low that you were still in recovery, but when you tried to go do something hard, and sometimes that matters too. But in most cases, you just, if you can go out and do something and it just costs you less, that you're aerobically fitter.
Yeah. Easy ways to do this is, I like that you said about like the hike, and something that popped in my head is like, it goes back to what we talked about last week with like, distance is kind of irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. It's all about intensity. So it's like someone might say like, oh, I could never do a marathon. It's like, can you walk? You could literally walk a marathon. It's going to take you forever, but you could walk a marathon. What you're really saying is I couldn't run a marathon. Okay. But you don't just like jump into running it. Right.
Right.
And so from a training perspective, there's a difference between like just going and enjoying a hike and like doing it for fitness purposes, right? But let's just say, for example, we were going to go out to Raven Rocks, and we're going to do like the out and back. You could just be like, I'm going to keep my heart rate between X and Z, maybe not that far up the alphabet. I'm not trying to say like max it out, but you're just going to give yourself some type of constraint. I'm going to keep my heart rate between 128 and 148 on this hike. Just kind of arbitrary, but like gives you a range. And I'm going to walk it however fast I can within that range, right? If you were to do that, say that was like, I'm going to do that every Friday for the next 12 weeks, keeping your heart rate in that same range, you will, not every single time, but you will find that you're able to go a little bit faster. Obviously, this is barring all of your training that you're doing to try and support that. But it's just like the easiest measure that if you're able to go out in that same range and cover the same exact course faster and faster, you're seeing improvements in your cardiovascular fitness. So.
You also, the one thing that you have to understand is that there is like we just mentioned, there is the alarm stage, whereas like you're going to maybe get worse, and then you will trend back up. So it's like, this is completely arbitrary, and I'm not saying it would necessarily work this way, but let's say you go out in week 1 and you do it, and then week 2 is similar, but then like week 3 you feel worse, week 4 you get a little slower, and you're like, well, this isn't working. Like, you might still be in like the recovery, like alarm, I'm adapting to this stage, but then week 5, week 6, week 7, shit gets easier, and you're able to cover more ground while keeping your heart rate in those zones. So that's just something to keep in mind, is like, it's not a linear thing. So there's a really good chance that you're gonna see a dip, and then it'll start to come back up.
Yep.
And I think that's where people get really frustrated, because the same thing happens with any kind of adaptation, like with strength, and we try to mitigate that as much as possible with the way that we phase and wave our training so that we can adapt to stress. So we limit the alarm and recover and rebound and lack of performance, but it's going to happen to some extent. And so don't be alarmed that you go out and like maybe one or two are worse, and then you will rebound and get better on the other side of that.
Yep. Is there anything else that you use
to monitor myself?
Mm-hmm.
Really, the two things are honestly that I use the most are heart rate recovery and work, and work in the same amount of time. Oh, geez, and now I'm like increased work rate. Sorry, increased work rate at the same or lower heart rate. Like those are the two things that I mostly pay attention to, especially right now since I'm running so much. Like the other day I went out and was running and I could just like cruise and my heart rate barely got into the 140s.
Yeah.
Cruise for me.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that
14 minutes.
We had that kind of cruise for me. And so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like that, like, cause I know kind of my trend is I'll do right now. It won't happen this week, but right now I do like a long run on Saturdays. And I know by Monday, I'm typically not really back around from that. And so like Saturday is a long run. Sunday is just like activity. Like I just walk and stuff. I don't train at all. And then Monday, I'm still not recovered totally from Saturday. And so I need to use that day to drive recovery. So like this week I did a very short, easy run. And then I lifted on Tuesday. And then I ran again yesterday. And like I saw my performance come back up. And so this week I won't do a long run on Saturday because I just don't have time, but also because I need to come back down. So I'll come back down and do a short run this week, and then the following week I'll come back up to that same volume from last Saturday. So I'll run 7, I'll do 8, I'll do 9, and then we'll deload and then we'll go run the half marathon.
I guess it's covered there, but I was going to say like that's what I would add, but I guess that you're able to handle greater workloads in general. I was thinking of that on like the micro scale of like
recovering from those long runs.
Well, like your ability to handle more workload and do longer training runs. So sure. You don't jump into a 3-hour training run. You do, your long run is maybe 60 minutes and then 75 and then 90. Maybe you could jump a little more aggressively than that, but it shouldn't be crazy. But then also your ability to recover from greater workloads would be one other measure I'd maybe throw in there. But I was kind of skimming that real fast. Like, I guess it's kind of covered in there, but your ability to do, say, a harder interval session on a Thursday and then turn around Friday morning, feel good, and do a long run. Like, I can't do that typically at the beginning of training, like one of my ultra train-ups. Yeah. But later into it, can do that.
Yeah, for sure. So. Yeah, and that's, I don't know that I'll need to do that for what we're doing, but, and that's, if you look at how I walked myself up, like it was like an hour of running. Well, it was like 45 minutes. Then it was an hour 12, hour 22. You know what I mean? And so it's like the actual duration is going up. And
but you're running distance, not for time, right? Or are you doing by time?
Oh, I'm mostly doing distance. Okay. Distance and then keeping my heart rate under 150.
I think just because that's how it was prescribed to me. And then I'm like, I like it. And I read Coop's book and was like his case for like time over distance. I just really like it. Also just gives you this nice, like
running for time instead of distance.
I've done both. Everything I do is by time. I don't think I've gone out for a single run. That's not true. I've done one where I'm like, I'm going to go do like a math 5K, but for the most part, I just go all time because one, it's easy to plan into my schedule. And it keeps me from being like, well, if I just go faster, I can get this over with, and maybe like skewing away from the type of intensity that I'm supposed to be running with on that day.
Up until I told you I'd do that half marathon with you, like it's all been time.
Yeah.
I've never focused like on mileage at all because I know myself if like I want to see how I want to push myself too hard. And so like, that's why I need heart rate constraints and I need things like that. So I make sure, cause I will go out and I just want to see how fast I can go. Not even necessarily that I'm avoiding the boredom of going slow, cause I've gotten pretty good at that, but it's just like, I don't know. I like to run fast.
Someone hit me up this week it's funny because like as much as I posted about my ultra, you'll just scroll right past that until you're doing something that's all of a sudden it's relevant to you. So this dude Chris that I went to, I think junior high and high school with, commented on one of our reels this past week. He was like, "Wait, you've run an ultra?" I was like, "What, dude?" But so we were having a back and forth, and I was just gonna pull up what I said to him about you. I think it was on Facebook. Because I think he said, "Do you have anything else lined up?" And how do I get to? Here we go. Where was it? Was it all in the comments of the reel? But basically, he was like, "Do you have anything else coming up?" And I was like, "No, not really." Here we go. I just said, I'm doing a half marathon with a buddy in March, but not going to try and run it fast. Just out, however fast he's mildly uncomfortable with. So that's what you're in for. Mildly uncomfortable. I don't want to let you be comfortable the whole time.
Well, when I ran my threshold test, like my average heart rate was 173.
Yeah.
And I could have kept going,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'm okay with like it sucking. Like it's 2 hours. I've done shit that sucks for way longer than 2 hours. So
as long as it doesn't feel like,
oh, that might happen. Well, that's why. Yeah, we can't just tear out of the gate.
No. Did you have to put in, like when I signed up, it asked you what your predicted finish time was. What did you have to do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what you wrote?
I don't remember.
Because I think that's the only thing I was thinking about. I was like, uh-oh. I think that typically, I've never done this one, but in some marathons, there's different chutes
heats
that they send you out of. Well, I don't even know if it's different times. I think everyone goes out at once. Typically, the different heats are like, there's like a pro heat, and then there's like the average Joe's heat. Like in the Boston Marathon, they send out like the one that everyone's like, "Oh, how's Kipchoge going to do?" It's like a small group of elite marathoners that goes out, and then later the general public goes. But no, I think they send you to like different chutes based on that. So I was just like, "Oh, wait, we might have to start and then
meet up,
figure out." But yeah, but
oh boy,
the one episode you said I'm trying to go sub hour and a half, so you might be in a faster chute than me, depending on what you wrote.
I might have wrote that.
And you're just running, like you're next to all these like
what are you doing here? Like, I don't know. I shouldn't be here.
That could get real interesting because you'll come out and be like, well, I'm like, without even trying to.
You come out way too fast.
You come out way too fast because you're just like running the same pace as everyone around you. So
yeah.
I have no idea what we're in for. I've never.
Maybe we need to talk to them one.
It's
day. Like, hey, I fucked up.
It's the big, not really a joke, but the big joke is like, so you mean to tell me that your first organized race was 74 miles? Like, yeah. Never ran a 5K, 10K, half marathon, just Todd dared me.
Deep end of the pool.
So that's what I did. So literally, like, I don't know what it's like to go do a half marathon outside of video stuff I've seen. So
I don't know.
I heard you run.
We're just going to go run.
It's
going to be tough to say no to those steaks and margaritas I heard about up in Adams Morgan. So run by those. Smell it.
I'll hold a steak and tear off bites while running.
No, I would do that too.
I
don't know how far into the race it is. I think it's like you go up, from what I understand, maybe it'll change it obviously, but like you go up this one last hill and then there's like these people, this one block on Adams Morgan where everybody's kind of like partying. And
I wonder how many steaks they could have because there's a lot of runners.
Maybe just give you a little bit.
I mean, it's... I guess technically, if something goes very wrong, but I was gonna say this isn't long enough. It is.
What?
But there's less likelihood of you experiencing gastrointestinal distress from anything that you have. I don't want consuming like during this. Dude, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to put like super hard to digest protein into my body while I'm running.
Well, because when I did the 50K leading up to the Georgia Death Race, I think I told you this, was like, it's like going pretty casual pace. It's like we're pretty far along and I get to this checkpoint. And also like at times they're like, you want anything? I'm like, I don't know why, but like Coca-Cola sounds really good right now. But I never had anything carbonated in any run. And then I'd be running, be like, ooh, right? And then finally it was like one of the last, not checkpoint, but aid stations. And there's a dude on a grill. He's like, I'm making pierogies. You want a pierogi? I'm like, that sounds amazing. And between, I don't know, the pierogi and more Coca-Cola, I was just like running soon after. Yeah, and I was like, I genuinely don't know if this is really a fart. And so,
oh, that's good.
I don't know. I don't think you're
I'm
gonna
not
experience that in 13.1 miles.
I'm not gonna risk it. You know.
So you're gonna say no to the margarita and steak?
Well, I definitely should say that. You've seen how bad I cramp.
Yes.
Like I don't need a fucking margarita.
Stand up paddleboarding.
Yeah. I was a different person then too. Keep that in mind. But I remember when we were teaching on Long Island, and I drank a margarita and stood up, and both my quads locked up. Yeah. That's good. I didn't drink much all day, and I've been talking and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah. No, I probably
it did cross my mind though. I did think like, I don't know. The other day I was just randomly thinking about, might have been this morning. I was like, Todd might cramp up on this, but probably not.
I've been better about my electrolytes and stuff, and
probably not.
I've been better about hydration, all that kind of stuff. So I think I'll be okay. And I've also been like, I mean, I go out and do stuff for hours at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe not running, but like the longest run I've done that was just the hour 22 was just the actual run. But like before that, I did a warm up, like walk, run, warm up. I did a walk, run, warm up after that. So I've gone out and like run for an hour and a half or more.
You'll be fine.
So yeah,
you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I didn't cramp on any of that. But I'm also not. I'm at like 150 or under, so it's not like I'm burning up a bunch of carbs and stuff to get like I'm not getting through all my carbs and stuff while I do that either. But
the only cramp I ever experienced is I thought like a major injury happened during a run, I guess I should say. And it was during the Georgia Death Race. I forget what point, maybe, I think I said it like in like the recap of it, but it was probably like 40 some miles, maybe. I don't know. But I remember being at this aid station and I don't remember what it was. This girl was like, you know, every single aid station you get to, people are so nice. Like, oh, what do you need? Like, and they're trying to do everything for you. And there was something to do with my bag, and I was like undoing a zipper or like a snap or something. She was like, wow, your fingers still work. I was like, yeah, what do you mean? She was like, oh, like in my experience, she's like, and a lot of people we see, like at this point, they're like shaky and like your fine motor skills are going. I was like, no, I feel fine. And she was like, well, we have a bunch of BioFreeze. I was like, why would I need BioFreeze? And she was like, well, just take it in case you need it. I'm like, okay. And it wasn't but like 2 minutes down the road of like beginning to run again, we're on like a gravel road. I got really intense, sharp left knee pain. Not right knee pain, not the one that I had all the history with. And I remember being like, oh no, like I just tweaked something in my knee. Like this, how is this going to be the end of the road? Like nothing happened. It was intense. And I was running with this dude and I stopped. And he's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, dude, just go ahead. I don't know what's going on. Something is wrong with my knee. And then I was like, a girl just gave me BioFreeze. Like, I'll see. And I popped a salt tab and I slapped. It was just like tear open, little single use. And I just slathered my knee in it. And it was like instant relief. Just like, all right. So the salt, the BioFreeze, I don't know what it was, but it was just gone right after that. And I was like, oh, that was a cramp. But it didn't, you think of like a Charlie horse. It felt like incredibly sharp pain. So I don't know, but I think a lot of people talk about like hamstrings and stuff going, but this was like vastus medialis, like freaking just. Ugh.
If I'm
not
gonna
even
cramp,
locking up, just sharp pain.
If I'm gonna cramp, that's where it'll be.
Your knee,
like my quad, like lower quad. That'll be where it is. But we'll see. I don't think I will. I think it'll be fine. Why are you smirking, man?
Just because, like, that's because if it does go wrong,
you also have to understand, and I think maybe not everybody knows this about me, but you obviously know. Like, I'm like the most confident guy in the world. I just think I can do everything.
Well, no, I know that, and I think that's why I'm laughing because I wholeheartedly believe that this will go perfectly fine. I'm just smirking because I'm like, if it doesn't, like, we can just pull this back.
Oh, it'll be hilarious
with some different clips, like just picturing a reel now. Again, I'm not saying this is my prediction. But just layer on like you saying this stuff and then me with like a freaking the DJI Action 4 just getting some footage. You'd be like, just and then going back and forth. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
See it.
But it would be hilarious.
I just have to hydrate and make sure I have enough carbs so I don't burn through them all. I think I'll be all right. That's when I'll cramp.
Yeah. 13.1 miles. You'll be fine.
I'm not worried. I really am not. Maybe I should be more nervous than I am, but I'm not at all nervous about this.
No.
So I'm just going to go run.
It goes back to what I said.
Fancy new shoes, you know?
It goes back to what I said. I'm not joking about the mildly uncomfortable because you don't want to cross finish line and be like, man, I kind of wish I would have tested myself. I think we should push a bit, but like, again, at like what's mildly uncomfortable to you. But it goes back to
I'm willing to be very uncomfortable by the end.
There's zero doubt that you can do this. There's like, right. I that's the one thing, like, that's not true. If there was one, there probably wouldn't be my one thing, but like, if I could just make it to where like in their being, people would just know, like, you can do anything. Like, I don't know. And I think there's things, of course, there's things that we can't do, but like you, where it's just like most things I'm like, all right, I'll do it. Like, yeah, I'll step up. And
but I think the difference is like between us and a lot of people is we understand that. Well, I think there's a couple things like willingness to be uncomfortable and like understanding like suffering's part of the deal. It's going to happen. And the other thing is understanding that there's a process that like, well, yeah, I'm willing to go do what I need to do to be able to do that. And I think that that's where the difference, where people, the process seems opaque, or like people can't see it, or it's like people aren't necessarily willing to do the process. And also I think we've just given ourselves enough examples that like we've set out and achieved goals before. And it's like, I mean, sure, I know I can change, but a lot of people don't have the experience to do that, or just realize that it is just all a process. And if you're willing, it depends on how long you want to stretch out the time horizon. But because we have the experience that we do, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, we can change that time horizon faster than most people can. So I think that that's really the difference.
Casey Neistat put out 2 videos in the last like 2 weeks, which he doesn't post as frequently as he used to, but he put one out today that you should watch. And it's like, I forget the title of it is about, is it Sisyphus that like pushed the,
yeah.
And the title has to do with that. I forget exactly what the title is. But then the video starts off with him just writing on a blank sheet of white paper and marker, just, I've been waiting 17 years to make this. And it's a video about him finally running a sub 3-hour marathon, which I already heard him talk about on some podcasts that he did it. But the video is freaking awesome. And he breaks down like from his accident to where he was told you'll never run again. And on that, like as soon as he was told that, he was like, nope, I'm going to run again and I'm going to run a sub 3-hour marathon. But he said that when he was, whatever it was, he was 20 something. And he only just did it. Like it wasn't New York City Marathon. It was one right after that. Cause you gotta see the video. I don't want to spoil it, but,
sure.
But awesome video. And it's that same thing where there's just like that. No, I know that I can do this, but 17 years of just like right there. Nope. And that's what he's saying. He just felt like the Sisyphus, right? Like,
yeah, Sisyphus.
Like he just has the ball right there, and then boom, it just rolls back down the hill. And he just kept showing up, doing the process. And that's hopefully not 17 years, but that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
In some form, 17 years. In some form, I do hope that I keep pushing some type of ball up the hill 17 more years.
Well, I think
more than 17
I think
years,
the thing is about all that is like, no matter what, there's always a ball.
Yeah.
You either choose the ball or you don't choose the ball. Yes. There's always a ball. And it just like, that's where I think people expect the ball to go away and like, well, life's just easy now. And it's like, the ball never goes away. There's always a ball. You can be like, I think it's, I don't know. Like I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking about writing an article or a post or something about it. And just like, I don't know. Cause like, I think you know how much, and anybody that listens to this podcast knows how much like hardo bullshit fucking annoys me. Cause it's like, this is voluntary. Yeah. You're choosing it. Does not make you tough. Like doing shit that you don't want to do or that you have no choice that you have to do. So like your kids can eat for like, so you can keep the lights on. Like that's fucking tough, you know? And you could argue like, well, they could do different things to change their situation for sure. Of course. Like, but it's never that easy. As someone that grew up in that situation, I can tell you it's never fucking just that easy. But like, whether you choose the ball to roll up the hill or not, there's a fucking ball. And it's like sometimes doing voluntary stuff makes you able to better push all the other balls up the hill.
Bingo.
But like, it's way more impressive when you got no choice but to push the fucking ball. And there's always going to be a ball. But if you choose the ball and you choose different balls, the involuntary balls get a lot.
So much balls.
Balls get easier to fondle. I push up the hill.
I mean, and I still want to have Corey come on and say what he so eloquently said that day that we were sitting out there. We were like, can you write that down? But no, it doesn't make you hard that you do these things voluntarily, but it makes you more resilient.
For sure. I think.
And it makes you better able to just go, okay, like when the involuntary stuff comes up and just, you have the track record with yourself that you can do hard things. You've done voluntarily hard things. And
I just have, my thing is just, and I'm not saying anything disparaging necessarily about it. It's just like, but I don't know, voluntary hardship just is not as impressive to me. Cause like, I you know what I mean? Which I think the caveat is like, I obviously do that to my fucking self. And like, I want people to do that. But what I'm saying is like, I think a lot of times people don't give themselves enough fucking credit, right? Cause it's like, you know, let's say maybe you look at, again, I'm not taking anything away from these guys. I think both of them could beat my ass, outrun me, whatever you want to fucking say. I don't give a shit. I would sit down and have these same conversation with them. Like, everybody idolizes Cameron Haynes and David Goggins. They're obviously fucking impressive. Of course they are. But I think a lot of times people don't give themselves enough credit because it's like, and I'm not saying that you should do this. I think if you look at your circumstances and you hate them, you should start to take steps to change your circumstances. But like, you know, the dad of 5 or the dad of however many kids that keeps showing up at a job because he has no fucking choice and he has to do it to keep the lights on, or like a single mom that does what she has to do to make sure her kid can eat and is safe. Like, they look at these other people and like, oh, they're so much better than I am. They're so much greater. It's like, you don't think about it that way, but like, look at what you fucking do every day. And that is far more impressive than saying, well, I'm going to put weight on my back and go hike for 100 miles and make my wife follow me in the truck. Like, the fuck out of here, man. Like, come on. That's ridiculous. Like, totally different things. And the person that can show up every day and do what they got to do regardless is way fucking tougher. I don't care what anybody says. So, I'm done. Sorry. I'm done. And I'm not even saying that I have that capability. That's the thing. It's like, I'm not saying that I'm that person, but I've witnessed that person and I know what that's like. So, yeah. I'm done. I think I went to a place I didn't know I was going to go to. So. I
was going to say something smart and I'm just like, no. Like, not even something specific. You're like, oh, just, I know your next line's going to be like, just say it. No, I don't have something specific, but.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could probably stop.
Think we're good there?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're good there.